Welcome to the speech sounds or the phonemes of English, part 2, consonants. Here are all the 44 phonemes, and as I said, we'll focus on the consonants in this film. If you look at the symbols, you see that many of them are very similar to Norwegian letters. So, in fact, in terms of symbols, these are fairly easy. That's the good news. Now let's recapitulate a little bit about places of articulation. You remember with vowels, it was mainly the tongue, or it was only the tongue really, and the tongue's position in the oral cavity, in the mouth, that we were talking about. Now with consonants, there's some obstruction of the airstream going on, and this obstruction or hindrance of the airstream that comes out from the lungs happens in different places, and that's where all these different places and means of articulation come into play. So first of all, there's the oral cavity, then we have the lips, and in phonetics, phonology, we often refer to Latin terms. Lips in Latin are labia, and that's why we talk about labial sounds. Labial sounds are like b, p, m, sounds where the lips are doing the work in stopping, in this case, the airstream. Then teeth. You probably know the words dental, dentist, etc. Dental floss in English. These terms come from the Latin word for teeth, dentis. And dental sounds then would be th, th. You stick the tongue out between your teeth, and therefore such sounds are called dental sounds. Then behind the teeth, there's the alveolar ridge, the little hard ridge there. That's where you place the tongue when you say t, d, n in English, and therefore they're called alveolar. Hard palate, you move your tongue up towards your hard palate, for example, in order to say y, y. Behind the hard palate, if you move your tongue back, you'll feel the soft palate. It's also referred to as the velum. And velar sounds are k, g, k, g. Can you feel how the back of the tongue moves up towards the back of your palate, the soft palate? Then, of course, the tongue is active in most of these too. Vocal folds are used when we need to voice a sound. If we say f, f, s, s, there is no voice, but if we say v, v, z, there is voice, and we activate the vocal folds. They vibrate, and you can feel the vibration in your Adam's apple. Now, some more terminology. With consonants, we talk about stops, and the reason is that we stop the airstream with these. Can you feel how we stop the airstream and then we let the air out afterwards? That's why they're called stops. Fricatives, they refer to the way that we make friction. We don't stop the airstream, but we hinder it. So there's friction with fricatives. These terms then, stops, fricatives, refer to how we deal with the airstream, what we do to the airstream that we let out of our lungs. Then nasals refer to the fact that we let the air come out through the nose. We stop the airstream from coming out of the mouth. For example, we stop with both lips, and the air comes out through the nose. Or we stop with the tongue and the alveolar ridge, or with the back of our tongue towards the velum, the soft palate, and the airstream comes out through your nose, and that's why these are called nasals. Isn't it amazing all the things that we do? We don't even realize how good we are at this. We do it automatically, very, very, very quickly. Then there's a group of consonants called approximants, and that's probably because they're almost like vowels. There's very little friction, very little hindrance of the airstream with these. L, y, w. Now these terms, stops, fricatives, nasals, and approximants, refer to how we manipulate the airstream. Then we also have terms to refer to where this happens, and labial, bilabial sounds refer to the fact that we stop or we hinder the airstream by way of our lips. Remember, labia, labial, lips. Bilabial, both lips. N, p, b. Lips are in action here. Dental, labiodental, etc. Dental would be th, v. Feel how this is labiodental. We use our upper teeth and our lower lip, our upper labia and our lower dentis. Labiodental, v. And then alveolar would be t, d. We have our tongue a little further back, often in English, than with the corresponding t, 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 t. In Norwegian, t, t are often more sharp in Norwegian than many other languages than they are in English. Therefore, they're called alveolar in English. We stop or we hinder the airstream by way of our tongue and by touching our tongue towards the alveolar. Post-alveolar means after alveolar, sort of a little bit after the alveolar, a little further back. Ch, j, t, d, ch, j. You may feel how the ch, j is, the sound there is made a little further back in the mouth. Palatal, y. Tongue is up towards the palate, y. And velar, k, g, ng, in the back. Then there's the glottal stop. This is an allophone. It's not a phoneme. It's used a lot in many, especially British accents instead of t or d. Glottal, whatever. Then let's have a closer look at the stops. P, b, p is 40s, and again this is a Latin word. It means strong. Lenis is also Latin, means weak. Now it might be easier to remember to refer to these as voiced or unvoiced. 40s is unvoiced, p, 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 p. No voice there. B, b. You have to add voice to get the b. And these, of course, are made by pressing both lips together, and that's why they're called bilabial. T and d are also the same sound, just that t is without voice and d is with voice. Here we press our tongue up towards the alveolar, the teeth ridge. Ch and j are post-alveolar. Here we use press our tongue up a little further behind the alveolar, and therefore it's called post-alveolar. And finally, k and g are also unvoiced and voiced variations of the same sound, really. You pronounce them in the same place and in the same way by pressing the back of the tongue up towards the soft palate, the velum. Isn't it amazing how we can do this? It's never ceases to amaze me. Then, of course, these are perhaps the sounds that are difficult for Norwegian learners. Cherry, gin, chips, cello, cheese, jam, church, James Bond. Ch, unvoiced 40s, j, voiced Lenis. Now, fricatives. The one main challenge here is to distinguish between v and w. Many Norwegians aren't aware that there are two sounds. There are. There is a difference between a vest and west, vi and we, verse and worse, veil and whale, vine and wine, veal and wheel. A veil is something you can wear in front of your face to hide. A vine is where grapes grow. You can see how these are different phonemes in English because exchanging one for the other brings or can bring about a change in meaning. Now, you have probably heard people say w instead of v, so it seems that this needs a bit of practice. Advice, valley, very, vegetable, view, victim, violent, violence, Viking, vitamin. William and Victor wear wool vests and velvet levis. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. The combination N plus V seems to be particularly difficult. It's envy, envious, invade, invasion, investigate, investigation, invite, invitation. And here is a text that you can practice. Victor, have you ever visited Vladivostok? Never. In fact, I haven't traveled further than Liverpool. I've had an invitation from the University of Vladivostok to give a survey of my own creative verse. How marvelous! Will my navy overcoat be heavy enough, I wonder? It's long-sleeved and reversible, and I've got a pair of velvet levis, rather a vivid violet. Do you think they'll approve? I should think the professors will view violet levis with violent disapproval. When do you leave? On the 7th of November. I don't advise you to travel on the 7th. It's the anniversary of the Valentine invasion, and for heaven's sake, Oliver, don't overdo the caviar or the vodka. Victor, I do believe you're envious. This is quite a difficult text, of course, but note how such text can be very good practice for children. Just make an easier text with lots of violets and violins and vitamins and Vikings in it. Now, another challenge with fricatives is this, th and the. Th is forties, strong, unvoiced. The is leanis or voiced. Now, people have a tendency to use t instead of th, d instead of the. This may not hinder communication, but it may. And again, you should, as teachers, be aware that you should use a fricative th and not a stop t, the, instead of d in words like three, third, thigh, thick, thorn, thin, both. And these minimal pairs show you that exchanging one sound for another may bring about a difference in meaning. You have a tree and you have the number 3. You have a third and the number third. Tie, thigh, tick, thick, torn, thorn, tin, thin, both. Then the, they, those, then, sudden, southern. There aren't too many words that contain the, but those that do should, especially for an English teacher, be pronounced correctly. So here are the most common ones: the, they, this, that, these, those, there, though, smoothie, either, gather, bathe, soothe. Now these are also two different phonemes in English, unvoiced s and voiced z. And again, exchanging one for the other may bring about a change in meaning. Su, zoo. Bus, buzz. Niece, knees. East, eased. The voiced z is first and foremost weak. He loves Mary's eyes. Please pass the peas. Busy, music, lazy. Has, does, is, jazz. Don't overdo the voicing. Busy, music. You don't have to do that. Just make it very weak and a little bit of voice. Notice especially has, does, is, goes, etc. It's nice to get those right with the nice weak voiced S. One trick is to really draw out the vowel sound before the voiced S. You'll hear the difference here. Ice, eyes. Bus, buzz. Peace, peas. Place, plays. Rice, rise. Niece, knees. Hiss, his. Price, prize. East, eased. The voiced and the unvoiced z, s, z can be practiced in rhymes and riddles, of course. I have 10 little fingers, 10 little toes, 2 eyes, 2 ears, but just 1 nose. Flowers grow like this. Trees grow like this. I grow just like that. With movement, that's a fun little rhyme. Or you can sing. I like the flowers, I like the daffodils, I like the mountains, I like the rolling hills, I like the fireside when the lights are low. Boom-a-daddy, 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 I like the flowers, I... Hear how it sounds, or it's easier to sing actually when you voice that S. I like the flowers, I like the daffodils, I... So, lots of fun songs can be sung and the voiced S can be practiced at the same time. Now, you may wonder, when is this voiced S used? Now, there are some common words that one might as well just get used to. As, busy, cause, crazy, days, does, easy, goes. Now, the asterisk there indicates that this we have to do with an ending S, and we'll come back to those. These are some more common words: has, his, hers, is, jazz, lazy, lose, moves. Note how when there's a Z or a Z in the spelling, it's always voiced. Z, jazz, lazy. Music, noise, reason, please, Tuesday, these, use, to use. That is the verb was. As I said, the asterisk indicates that these are ending S's, and let's have a look at how they work. An ending S is an inflectional S. That is an ending that comes sometimes. The ending S is used in the plural form of a noun. 1 boy, 2 boys, 1 day, 2 days. There's an ending S in the third person present tense of a verb. I do, he does. I go, he goes. I move, he moves. And in the genitive form of a noun. It's John's car, it's Mary's car, etc. And all of these are ending S's. He loves Mary's eyes. Now, the challenge is this. An ending S is always spelled with an S, but can be pronounced both as S and voiced, Z, voiced or linis, and Z. We'll look at the rules. When most ending S's are pronounced as Z, voiced. And that's because most sounds in English are voiced. And if the sound before the ending S is linis or voiced, then the ending S is pronounced as Z. Such as here, boys, days, does, goes, moves, John's, Mary's. Boy, of course this is voiced, it's a diphthong. Day, this is also a diphthong, voiced. Move, v, a voiced consonant. John, a voiced consonant. And then after these voiced sounds, the ending S is pronounced as a linis or voiced Z. The ending S is pronounced as unvoiced or forties S if the sound before the ending S is also forties or unvoiced. Now, there aren't too many of those. In principle, or in practice, they're just P, T, K, F. So after these sounds, the ending S is pronounced as S. So you get caps, hats, books, laughs, jumps, hits, kicks, pats. Sometimes the ending S is pronounced as Z or is. This happens if the sound before the ending S is a sibilant or a hissing sound. Hissing sounds are these, S, Sh, Z, Sh, Ch, J. And you get one bus, two buses, one horse, two horses, a catch, or I catch, he catches, or one catch, two catches, one wish, wishes, James's. There's one strange word, or it behaves a bit strangely. The S in one house is forties, one house, but in the plural this S becomes voiced. One house, two houses. Now you can have a look at this. The underlined S's, are they unvoiced or voiced? The next slide will give you the key. Note while you look at this though that any S that's spelled with a C is always pronounced as S unvoiced, if it's not K, of course, as in C in cats. Okay, here is the key. He gives and takes. V is voiced, therefore the voiced Z. K is unvoiced, therefore the unvoiced S. Sings and plays. It rains. Cats. Cat is unvoiced. T is unvoiced, therefore unvoiced S in cats. Dogs. The wind blows. She skips and jumps. The P is unvoiced, therefore unvoiced, ending S. Did you hear the news? Yes. Now the S in this word, you simply just have to learn. This is not an ending S, this is just a part of the word, and it so happens that yes is said with unvoiced S. Peace at last. Unvoiced S because there's a C in the spelling. We have more fricatives, sh and zh. Sh is forties or unvoiced, zh linis or voiced. Precious, ocean, nation, condition, pressure, relation. Now it's basically the same sound, it's just that you have to activate your vocal cords in order to say treasure, explosion, invasion, decision, pleasure, occasion. It's kind of fun to feel the vibration without voice, but occasion. So what's this? Champagne. Champagne, no vibration. Shell. Treasure. Treasure, vibration. Measuring tape. Garage. Collision. Let's go to Asia. You can practice all these words: beige, collision, camouflage, division, explosion, garage, illusion, inclusion, invasion, leisure, measure, occasion, pleasure, provision, revision, rouge, treasure, usual, television. And you can play a little game if you have anyone around. You can say, thank you for fixing my television. Thank you for letting me use your garage. Thank you for lending me Treasure Island, for lending me your measuring tape, for letting me draw your Peugeot, or telling me about your trip to Asia. And the other person can say, it's a pleasure. Over to nasals, they're easy. M is bilabial, N is alveolar, and Ng is velar, as we've said before. Now this is where we can learn about assimilation, because nobody in the whole world would say bank. You say bank or bank in English, right? And this has to do with assimilation, how one speech sound influences another. This happens very much with ng. You say bank, wink, in case even, instead of in case. Same thing happens if you have n and b, because it's much easier to say two bilabel sounds after one another. So therefore, instead of in bath, you'd say in bath. Or instead of rainbow, you say rainbow, rainbow. In Norwegian, many people say kronprins, right, instead of kronprins. The same thing happens with lots and lots of words, such as football, instead of football, football, or goodbye, goodbye, or would you even. This then is called assimilation. Approximants, semi-vowels. The thing here to notice perhaps is that there is difference between clear L and dark L in British English. L plus vowel would be clear, lip, light. Otherwise, speakers of British English would also have a dark L at the end or of words such as pill, cell, milk. So in little, little, the first L would be clear and the last would be dark. In American English, you only use the dark L in any situation. Lip, light, pill, little. R. The thing here is that some accents pronounce the R, others don't. The accents that do pronounce the R are referred to as rhotic accents. So an R in the spelling is always pronounced. In arm, art, better, car, corner, door, for example. Non-rhotic accents would only pronounce an R if it's before a vowel. Arrive, merry, read, umbrella, ferry. Otherwise, the R would be silent in non-rhotic accents. Arm, art, beta, ka, kona, do. Now, in non-rhotic accents, though, the ones that usually do not pronounce the R, they have a strange phenomenon called the linking R, because between vowels they often do pronounce the R, such as in ka, alarm. No, they put in an R there, or they pronounce it there. Car alarm, matter of fact. And they even put in an R where there is no R. My idea of heaven, pasta and sauce, India and Pakistan. A fun little characteristic of some British or British-like accents. This is the last sound we'll deal with in this presentation. Yeah. The thing is that some people pronounce that more often than others. Most speakers of North American English do not pronounce y after t, d, n, l, s. Not that you're supposed to remember these things, but just so you know. But most speakers of British or British-like accents do, and here are some examples. Speakers of British accents would say tune. Speakers of American English would say tune. Same thing with due, do, new, new, elude, allude, suit, suit, enthusiasm, enthusiasm. It's entirely up to you, of course. Either way is fine. But just note that these are pretty characteristic or pretty marked characteristics of British versus American pronunciation. The most tricky thing related to consonants is perhaps the difference between s and z, and especially when to use one and when to use the other. Jack kicks the ball. If you want to have a look at this on your own, you simply stop the film, and then when you have wondered, you can go on to the next slide, which shows you the key. And it's here. Jack kicks the ball. He has two balls. His coat hangs there. He's busy. Where is Pat's pen? This is John's pen. John has two pens. These are his books. He always reads. Listen to that music. I think it's jazz. Sheila plays the drums. It's a nice place. Peter wants to dance. He learns quickly. Give me some peace, please. Those were the days. Bye-bye for now.